Good morning. This is the Sharing Wheel, and today we have Manny Janard.
Yes.
Pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, Manny Janard. You got it.
And
You got it.
of Rebel Coffee and Creamery,
Yes.
and I'm a big fan.
Thank you.
And I've gone many times, and I've always said, I'm like, these guys are very consistent in what they do, and it's consistently good. And so preparing for the podcast, I started to look into the machinery that you guys have, and it's next level, I think, is the term.
Yes, that is something that you are right on the money.
Yeah. And so the no, I know you're partnered up with a Peter from Tryst.
Yes. So Peter had owned many restaurants in the past, but how I met Peter was from a restaurant called Tryst right here on Cabot Street. And I found myself in there way too often, really taking a love for his food. His passion for food. And, he really put together such an incredible atmosphere, restaurant, bar program. It was a very well executed team effort, and that's where I met Peter.
Right. I think I've read that you actually came in through the back entrance, so you were so
yes
there so often.
I was there so often. So at the time, I was doing some adventure travel stuff. One of the team members there was going to be coming on one of my trips, and became friendly with some of them. And I was there so often. The food, the drink, it was really incredible service. And Peter and I became friends, and I used to just park in the back. And come through the back door. So that's where it started, that friendship.
And the Atomic was when Tryst was there. Was the Atomic over here?
So that's a good question. Let me think about that.
Or was that different?
It's funny when Atomic first opened. I mean, their first location was right here, and they had a little closer.
Yeah,
sweet. So they had half the space. Then as they grew, they had the other half of their roasting.
Right.
Then they went across the street.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if I think Atomic was still across the street when Tryst was there.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. My memory isn't the strongest with the time frame there, but I believe so. And then they had that huge build out when the what was the name of that bookstore? It was great. Casa
Demota.
Yeah.
That's a whole special time in Beverly. Eh?
Yeah, you grab a book, come across the street to Atomic. But that's where I met Andy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I was one of the first customers, and over the years, they had a great, great team of people, and I would often come in there.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, so you teamed up with Peter and Andy.
This concept, my prior business, I had sold it, and I was thinking of doing something, and I had wanted to open a coffee shop, probably early mid-'90s. Actually, you and I were just chatting about this before we started this, about Front Street. I was in Front Street. There was a snowstorm. It was dark, snow and music was on. I was playing cards with some friends, and I was like, I want to open a coffee shop.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's kind of where that first wheel started.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
And then after I had sold my business, I took a little bit. I was like, all right, I'm going to start looking. And I looked at a few spots in the Cumming Center, and that was on a Wednesday. 2 days later, COVID is when everything shut down.
Oh, yeah.
So everything got put on pause.
Sure.
And over the next whatever time frame that was, year and a half, whatever, what Rebel is today, how that became is essentially through that time frame. I would visit friends in Florida. Andy was in Florida, and when I was in Florida, I'd make it a point to visit Andy. I'd visit some other friends, and it kind of it kind of organically grew.
Yeah.
And then I had always thought about doing something with Peter, food-wise, because he's got an incredible passion for food. So do I. And then with coffee and Andy, and it kind of was like, Andy, I have an idea. It was like, and I kept talking to Andy about the scones that Peter makes. Scones, or Sean, you haven't had our scones.
I have, yeah, they're very good.
They're incredible. And so I was like, well, we should do this.
Yeah.
And we all sat around a table. Actually, I think Backbeat might have been the first. That's the brewery on Park Street, right? Is it Backbeat?
Yep, Backbeat. Yep.
Yeah. I think that was the first time maybe we sat together.
Yeah. Fun.
You know, and it kind of evolved from there. And we kind of knew an idea of what we wanted to accomplish. And then
it's I'm always fascinated at how an idea becomes reality, you know, and I think probably one of the biggest untapped resources we have in Beverly is people with a good idea that's on the shelf, in a sense, and they don't move forward with it. For whatever reason is, but there's so much there, untapped, So I appreciate that you ran with it and stepped into the vision, in a sense, and then now we have this awesome, place.
I appreciate that.
That's also raising the bar as well in coffee, which is super, which I totally appreciate. And then circling back, your adventure, your rock star adventures, I have to ask about that. Yeah.
I would go on these trips, whatever it may be, kayaking, skydiving, whitewater rafting, and I'd have a couple friends, and I'm like, oh, you guys should come. And I realized that after spending time with some of these friends that were going, they had never done anything like this. And then, I would always, after I'd bring them, I'm like, oh, you got to try this restaurant in this area. And I would know the area pretty well. If I went somewhere and I would scope it out, I would do the homework, and I would eat all over town to make sure that wherever I was going was the best of that pick. And then after bringing some friends there, they were just blown away with the time, and it was really nice to see the joy it brought to them. I was like, wait, we got to do this. And then that grew. So I started, I was doing it for friends as a kind of just a fun hobby. And we would have 10, 15 people kayaking in North Conway. Well, that grew to like a gentleman at the time, his name Pete, and he owned a company called Northern Extremes in North Conway. And he started renting me kayaks. And, I think we had 30, 40, 50 people going down the river with my group. And then started renting pieces of property coming down the island, so we'd have these massive campouts. I'd rent grills, like 30 by 60 canopy tents. And then every season I would add a new trip. I was kind of funding it myself. It'd be a whitewater rafting trip. It'd be a skydiving trip. And then over time, Rockstar Energy Drink became a sponsor. Harpoon Brewery became a sponsor. And then I became a friend of Harpoon's on their site. So when I would put together a trip, they would put it on their site. So my skydive trips would be very intimate. It'd be a skydive in the morning. I would, when you would land, it'd be mimosas and bagels waiting for you. Then we'd do a tour of the Newport Vineyard. Then we'd do a sunset sail on the Madeline. We'd have lunch. It was a really, all these days, and sailing in the British Virgin Islands. So I was trying to just open people's eyes to adventures that maybe they, wouldn't think of doing, or I don't know.
Comes back to the next level, right? You're raising the ante and organizing it. So I can see it. I can see it in your venture travel and also in Rebel. And one example would be the Slayer coffee machine.
That's all Andy. When putting together Rebel, and as it kind of morphed into it, Andy and I were supposed to meet up for a cup of coffee. We're in Delray. And we were at a coffee shop that is no longer there called Subculture, and I was waiting for a pour over. And like Andy and I have always had some incredible conversation. We fostered our friendship over that, you know. He's got some great wisdom, and I love having conversation with him. So our 10-minute, 20-minute meetup for coffee was like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And at the time, a friend of mine was like, "Are you guys going to be done soon?" And I was like, and it was a funny joke.
Yeah.
And we just kind of started talking. And when it came to equipment, Andy was like, "Oh no, I have this Slayer," and and you know, Andy knows you know, coffee, espresso, and that in that whole world, and it's nice to be able to learn. And I love it. I have such a passion, so I always try to soak that up.
Yeah.
But he had a Slayer, and he's like, and I had seen them, and I had heard of them, but you know, we get it in them, and he's dialing it in Danvers when all the paper's still up.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes in line with all the other equipment, right? He knew. I was like, well, we got to do pour overs.
Yeah.
And then he was like, have you heard about this pour steady machine? And I was
Right,
like,
right.
I had known about some of these automated machines,
Right.
but we set up a time with I forget his name, in Brooklyn, and me, Peter, and Andy took a field trip.
Awesome.
We had a great dinner the night before, and we went to Brooklyn, and we firsthand where they build them, where they make them. They're all handmade.
Right.
These are incredible machines, and pour overs are beautiful.
Yeah.
That they can be time consuming.
Right.
So like, well, how do we? How do we do this?
Yeah.
Where, and the whole point of the pour over is to introduce somebody who might want a pour over, maybe who've never had one. But I wanted to, you know, me, Andy, and Peter were like, well, why don't we chat, and why don't we figure out a way to bring coffee from all over the world on a rotating list that features some really high-end boutique roasters, and give them the credit that serve the coffee. And I mean, we've had at this point 40, 50, maybe 70 different guest roasters all over the world.
No kidding.
That fit that profile.
Oh, wow. Well, I hadn't known that. Yeah, because it was a robotics engineer.
Yes. And then there's also the ground control, which is our brewer. So the ground control, we have we have Slayers in both locations. One's a 3-group, one's a 2-group. We have a 5-group pour steady in Danvers, a 3-group pour steady in Beverly, and then our newest piece of equipment is an incredible milk steamer that will allow us to free up a set of hands, but still put out an incredible finished product. So we live in a world where no matter how you want to slice it, things are hurry up, fast.
Sure, yeah.
And we want to be able to get quality product out, incredible service at a timely manner.
Yes.
And we want to try to execute on those. So if we don't do the homework right, and we don't steam the milk properly, or the coffee isn't good, all that's for nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So the equipment plays a big role, but the training and so forth ties in.
So with the good equipment, it's less training, do you think, or more dependability?
I think we try to educate any team member that joins. We want to educate them on how this equipment is a little different and how it works and operates. So if someone comes in and has questions, we don't have to get crazy technical with them. The equipment is very reliable. You know, that homework is done ahead of time. I don't know how long we researched some of the equipment before we went with it.
Right. And you mentioned that you didn't want to just read that it was good through reviews. You wanted to see it. You wanted to see the pour and
everything.
The
so
everything.
On that second time we went to Brooklyn that we were touching base before we started. That's another Brooklyn trip. And that's another company, and they were distributed. That machine wasn't available in the U.S. And we waited, and finally I was talking to the company, and all through WhatsApp. I'm like, how do I get this? And I kept calling and calling.
Yeah.
He's like, well, we will have it this month. And
Okay.
so we went there. We took another field trip. This time was just Andy and I.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to see this firsthand. I have to see it because I just don't believe it's going to put out the same quality.
Right. Yeah.
And and the owner came. The owner happened to be there at the same time. His name is Jan. He's a really nice guy. And yeah, they fired it up. We were in their little test room, and it was brand new to them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
I'm like, Andy, can you pour me a cortado? I was so adamant about I gotta have a cortado with this, please.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he made it. And this pitcher is also a little different. So, you know, to try to do any little milk art, and especially if you've never used this pitcher, what's really nice is it has little RFIDs on the bottom of the pitcher.
RFID.
Chip
Okay.
inside.
Yeah.
And so that makes the pitcher for this machine proprietary. So when I put this pitcher on the machine, it will tell the machine after we've programmed it
Yeah.
what milk we're using,
Yeah.
what the temperature is, and how thick we do or do not want the foam, the milk texture.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he went over that with us, and he literally made the cortado. I took a sip, he took a sip, and I was like, we both gave each other the look. We were like, yes, yes. All this trip was not for,
Yeah. I love it.
it was great.
Passion for coffee, and you guys also were in Chicago too.
Yes, we went to Coffee Expo every year, and every year it's somewhere different, and it's definitely the biggest or one of the biggest, if not, and the technology and everything that is there. Sometimes you want to make sure that
Yeah.
the equipment you're using, and is there anything we're missing
You wanna
out on?
stay-
You know?
yeah,
we,
yeah.
Andy had discussed roasting. We had our blueprint of what we were looking to do within a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year period.
Okay.
And roasting was always on his radar,
Yeah.
but making sure we could fulfill, you know, if you're putting a roaster on the tab, we want to make sure we have enough beans for that roaster to roast.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it took a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a beautiful roaster. He found that, and
All right.
I think we're going on about 6 months now, and we've got a few accounts now, and we're taking things.
Yeah.
We want to make sure we're taking it slow and doing it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And then
coffee is incredible.
I have these that I want to try, but this is tell me a little bit about the.
So can I hold one of those?
Yeah. Sure.
So
Sure.
I don't know. This is my own personal experience. A little sarcasm here,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many times I've been to my nana's house or someone's house. I mean, my dad, prime example.
Yeah.
If I ever went to my dad's, it'd be Folgers. Well,
Right.
I'd bring this to my dad's
Yeah.
because so this essentially is our coffee in a portable pour over. So all I need, and how many times you go to a hotel, you go camping,
Yeah.
bring all this equipment.
Yeah.
Just put a pot on the open flame,
Yeah.
open this up, pour it over a cup,
Yeah.
and there you go. So it took a few times. I think
Yeah.
this calls for 10 ounces, I think, of water, and I felt it needed about 6 or 8 to get
Right.
the strength that I,
That you-
it's
yeah.
on the lighter
So-
side. So it
yeah,
took
yeah.
me a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is great. And matter of fact, at the Chicago Coffee Show is where I met the couple who did these. And I was
Yeah,
like, we got to have this. How do we do this?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's fantastic. It's a husband and wife, and what they do is tremendous. So it made this possible, and then good shelf life and everything. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure I leave some for our BevCam friends so they
Yeah.
can try it out. Cool. Yeah, and probably really good. Like, if like the lights go out, and, something like that. It's
Yeah.
good to have a few of these in
it
in the
is.
cupboard.
There's a few times where I've seemed to have less coffee at my house today than I did before we had the coffee shops.
Yeah.
But these were we had a bunch of these made.
Yeah.
So there was some in my garage, and I had no coffee. I was like, oh, I got those in the
Yeah.
garage. So I went downstairs and
It's always good to have a backup.
yes.
Yeah, for camping too. Yeah, geez, so many uses. And you also, you guys are known for your food as well.
Yes, that is Mr. Peter. We have a great team. So we have an incredible chef in Danvers, and he runs that kitchen. Ryan, he's dynamite, and there's a lot of hands that make both of our teams. Makes Rebel shine. Without a team,
Sure.
Really we have nothing, and so, but the recipes that created our scones and our breakfast sandwiches is Peter, and. Again, me, Andy, Peter, we'd sit around, we'd go over different things, back and forth. When Rebel was starting, like, no one sees all the little stuff. But, our bacon, I'm like, oh, let's go do something with some bacon and and there's a rub that we sell called Rebel Rub.
Oh,
and,
okay.
cool. We glaze it, and then we hit it with that rub. And that's our signature sandwich is the Resistance. Okay. Years ago, again, at Trist, Peter had this chorizo. I would have his chorizo all the time, and I'm like, and I never forget when we decided to do this. I'm like, we have to have these scones, and we have to find a way to put your chorizo somewhere because his chorizo was so good.
I'm hungry just thinking about it.
And our two number one sellers are the Rebel and the Resistance.
And there's one called the Drifter.
Yes.
Right? Is that named after Peter? Did Peter call himself the Drifter or something?
So, there's a girl who did some PR stuff for us, and chef, drifting from. So yes, that would be Peter. That one has the, the apples, the ham, maple cream. That's another great sandwich too.
And then you guys also have the merch there as well.
Yes.
That's really high quality and eye catching.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Who has the or maybe all of you do? Who has the artist's eye there?
As a team, we try to collaborate on a lot of stuff. But I think all of us, again, from the first time we sat around the table sketching out what we were going to put together. We wanted to build a brand, not necessarily, we're a coffee shop that has very high-end food. We're not a restaurant that has great coffee. And so we wanted to make sure that anything that had our name on it was amazing or it didn't. Whether it's a cup that you're going to serve coffee in, like a tumbler you're going to take, or a sweatshirt, a hat. So I single-handedly, if something comes my way, I don't know how many cups I have that I've had to demo. And I'll take it, and I'm on the water sometimes often, and I take that cup, and if that cup doesn't hold ice, that cup, see you later. Next. I don't want someone wasting their money on a subpar product. And then I read in your on your website the power of a few extra steps to reach a higher level of quality. And through our conversation, that's certainly apparent. When it's coming from somebody else or somebody else makes it a point to notice those things, sometimes that's a little bit of a gut check because I guess I don't know if me, Peter, or Andy ever even give it any thought. It's just, I think it's just what we do. I think just
how you're wired.
I feel like it's common sense. Like if you're going to do it, do it right or don't do it.
Your passion shows in the product, and to work together as a group is special too.
We a lot of fun together. I talked about that first trip to Brooklyn.
The field trip.
And I'm like, guys, I have this restaurant we got to go to. And Andy's got these like gazelle legs, and he's ex-professional mountain biker, and he would just be walking normal, and I'm like trying to keep up, and
New York
poor
trot.
Peter is got, because we're trying to make this reservation,
Sure.
because we can't get in, but we can get sit at the bar, and it's called Maria. It's an incredible restaurant. If no one's ever been, you should check it out in New York. But so Peter's like, limping behind us because he poor guy's got a bum knee, and Andy, and so we make it to the restaurant, and we had an incredible night. So we have a lot of fun together.
Cool.
As we grow, it's harder to spend that time together because we're all
You're busy.
doing different things. But the whole plan from day one is to build a franchisable model.
Right, right.
So we
Yeah.
could allow somebody, husband, wife, somebody who wants to do a coffee shop but doesn't know how to go through the permitting or the building
Right.
process or what would I buy.
Sure.
But they have the work ethic and they want to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whole point is, well, let's teach them. Let's
Yeah,
show them.
sure.
Let's pass this along.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. What else do? So future, like you have the potential for franchising, and do you guys have any field trips planned for maybe a grower or?
You know, I know right now that we are focusing, we have all of our profiles dialed in with our coffee. So we have our light roast that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have our everyday coffee, which is our daily driver. That's what we serve every day. Great medium roast.
Yeah.
We have our dark side, which is what we use in all of our espresso-based drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little step further is our Johnny Darko dark roast if someone's looking. So you can get
Yeah,
that
yeah.
on pour over. We also sell it retail whole bean
Okay.
on all of those coffees. So those are pretty much dialed in. And now we're slowly going to grow the wholesale program for
Okay.
our coffee.
Yeah.
There's a few clients that we are starting to roast for now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's been such a big growth year where Beverly's only 1 year old next month.
Yeah.
So all hands have kind of been over there to make sure everything is going good.
Yeah.
You know, Danvers has had a lot of construction downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to manage that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, we got some remodeling to do in different places.
Right.
But we don't have any major field trips lined up. I
Yeah,
know
it's
that
not-
we're probably going to,
You're busy with the
Yeah.
the two stores.
yeah, we
Wh-
get those too. And
Which the Danvers one is 16 Maple.
yeah, 60 Maple Street, Danvers.
Mhm.
That's just past 3 years in February.
Mm-hmm.
And next month will be 1 year for Beverly.
Beverly. And that's
That's
one Dodge.
One
yeah,
Dodge Street. Yeah.
across from
Henry's.
Henry's. Good in and out place. Too,
Yeah,
you know,
I feel like
right?
there's so many, and I didn't realize, but it seems like a confusing place to get into, but you can get into that parking lot from Flair's,
Three different
from that
ways.
Cleaners. You
Yes,
can get in
yeah.
from it's and
Yes, yeah, there are 3 different entry
Yeah.
points for sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Matter of fact,
yeah.
you can even come in from the back side of the street.
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't even
yeah,
know.
through the neighborhoods. Yeah.
Lived here almost my whole life and just realized that a
Yeah,
couple weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And anything I missed that you'd like to share? I know your passion for like service and quality is
Yeah.
something that drives you.
It is. I feel like it's lost. And that's kind of what started all of this. Because I don't know how many times I personally will go to a place, and you know maybe I get a great sandwich, but service isn't so good.
Right, right.
Maybe
yeah,
I get
yeah, Yeah.
great food, but the coffee's not so good.
yeah,
Or as we were talking, I'm like, this isn't hard. Why don't we do it?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
just put it all under one roof.
right, right.
And
yeah,
you know, it's a lot of work goes into it to get it where it needs to be, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's hard.
right, right.
It's discipline of what you wanna do,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
your standard is, and
right, right.
I feel it, saying good morning to somebody and looking forward
Well,
to
yeah.
making their day.
Yeah. Well, I
It's
mean,
important.
right. Yeah. I mean, that's community building right there. That engagement with the
Yeah.
when you're purchasing whatever you're getting, coffee, sandwich, making someone feel welcome.
Yeah.
Maybe asking them, "What are you doing today?" Or
Yeah, totally.
some.
I've
just-
come across some I fostered some great friendships.
Yeah. just by asking a
And we talking, and I mean, we get a lot of regulars that come in, and
Right.
it's nice to see them now that we're getting busier.
Right.
And I might be here or over there. I don't see them as much, and that's a little bit of a bummer.
Right. Yeah.
So I do enjoy that interaction, but I
Right.
also love the growth of where
Yeah.
the business is, because
Yeah.
if I'm behind the counter, I'm helping somebody, that's wonderful. But if we get to this franchise model,
Yeah.
then maybe we can get that across so everyone can have that experience.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how many times someone's like, "Oh my God, can you come to here? Can you come to Andover? Can you come?"
Right.
It's nice.
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean, coffee shops are so central to like civic life. I think
Yeah.
and building community, and we've talked about the history of coffee shops before. From Ethiopia, and how they were in Turkey, and they were sort of a threat to the order, because coffee stimulates conversation and ideas, and
Yes. Those
so
are good conversations we had.
Yeah, so there's something special about just a coffee shop.
It is. It brings a lot. You can come in and get your cup of coffee and go.
Right.
And that's what
Yep.
most people do on the day to day, right?
Yep.
But to sit down over a cup of coffee at a local place,
Yeah.
whether it's a snowy day, rainy day, sunny day,
Right.
you get
Yeah.
into conversations that you may not even,
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially how.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
they're nice.
Yeah. And one of the it's nice how this sort of merges here. Like, one of the things with the sharing wheel was a lot of really good ideas are created at coffee shops, and through people interacting, and the coffee stimulates a part of the brain, I think, that's
Yes.
like inventive and kind of thinking out of the box. And then I was thinking, and I've experienced this myself. You have these great conversations, and I'm like, how do you take that, which was created conversationally, and then bring it to the next, implement it in as it could have been like a community project, or it could be a business, or it could be a fun event or something like that, So I had this, originally the Sharing Wheel, which is this podcast, but originally I was working with, and we had spoke about this at the beginning, people have ideas on the shelf,
Yeah.
and they don't come forward with them. And these ideas are talked about in coffee shops. They come up, or new ideas. And the idea of the Sharing Wheel was to bring people together and have that person give like a 5-minute presentation of their idea, and then the audience would share back their expertise and know-how to help that person step into it. Because you have the ability to, which I admire in other entrepreneurial people, of taking the idea and running with it, and making it happen. And a lot of people don't have that, and myself to a degree, just being able to kind of have the confidence and to step into your vision. So the Sharing Wheel originally was to encourage that, and then to have an audience, and coffee too, I hope. And the idea is offered, and then the audience shares back to help them step into it.
It's almost like networking at its highest level.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah. So I kind of I've done that, but I had couldn't bring enough people to participate. But when it did happen, when I did have someone come forward with their vision or idea, the concept works. It's like a sharing, and then the audience, will share back, and it's really fun how it kind of, this atmosphere of sharing, how it creates, it's transformative, and it's kind of like, it's probably like one of your adventure trips, where everyone's like, all right, what do we do now? Like, now that we've kind of created this scene, this vibe in a sense, So anyways, it's sort of a bit long-winded on my end, but this is sort of how the podcast started.
That's great.
Like, I'm like, okay, I'm having an issue with bringing enough people forward with their vision or idea, so I'm going to do the podcast. and I'm going to approach it from a different way. So it's great to talk to you and how you went about stepping into your vision, stepping into your idea, and and following your passion. There's so many people who have that, but just can't get the wheel going, And it's a really great time to actually do new things because there's so much, stuff going on that's sort of dysfunctional. So it's a great time to build new things up. And what you're doing that's exactly what you're doing,
Yeah, I think to your point, I think that this podcast and that vision that you have is excellent because, a little light went off when you had said, there are so many people who want to do something, and if you're not familiar with that field, you don't even know where to go and what to do. And I had a thought. This was years ago. With this, like a container idea that I wanted to do, and I knew that there was a use for it, but I didn't know the first thing about that, right? So I wouldn't know where to go, so, I started doing homework and research and so forth.
Right.
But, had that idea, if I had been on this podcast, say 15 years ago, maybe I would have had so many people saying, oh, I can help you here and help you there and help you here.
Right.
Because genuinely, a lot of those people who are in that world, like I genuinely love to help people. So if somebody has an idea or a thought or, I'm never like, oh, this is my idea and you can't have it. And I like to share.
Yeah. Well, what I appreciate about you and because I've seen you at Kid Dreams.
Oh yeah.
And that they're a coffee shop and that there's non-competitive kind of
Calvin
you're supporting each other.
I support them because they bust ass. They excuse me. They do a great job.
Yeah. Sure.
And I love. I think it's important that that they should be recognized for that. I'd love to give my money to people who work hard and it shows. So.
Sure. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't have to be sort of this competitive kind of
I
thing.
think coffee's so subjective. We have a location in Danvers right next to another coffee shop. When we first opened, people were like, you're going to open right next and you'll never make it. And in my mind, it was like, oh, why would you do that? And it's not to hurt anyone.
Right.
What we're putting out for coffee and food is nothing like that.
Right.
And I believe that it's no different than, there's two pizza shops across the street from each other.
And both.
They're very different.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think everyone's mindset when they hear something or see something, they have that opinion, and some are like, oh, So, it's no. People come in with dunks, and do you mind if I get you like what you like?
Sure.
I support that.
Yeah, and you're coming in too with where you're kind of redefining what the coffee shop does in a sense.
Sure.
You're raising the standard, taking next level. It's funny, in South Africa, my wife's from South Africa, we're there recently, and the term there, they use it all the time. It's like, oh, that's next level. That's totally next level, So when I think of that term, I think of rebel, next level rebel.
Yeah.
So, but it's true, it's, I encourage people to go and just check it out for themselves. And so this concludes our conversation.
Yeah, this is much appreciated. I definitely want to thank you. And also, something that I want to make sure, without the incredible team that we have at Rebel, we're always building. I try to foster our team and try to accommodate their schedules, but without the help of them, it wouldn't be possible.
Right.
A lot of effort goes into training and stuff, but they do a really good job putting out the vision that we discuss.
And so, where they can be part of it, there's a buy-in to what you're trying to do.
A lot of appreciation that goes to my team, and again, Andy, me, and Peter, those guys are fantastic. So, without them, none of this journey would have happened.
It's a collaboration, and very a great model. Even like you know, like in terms of like franchise for you to duplicate what you're doing,
Yes.
but also the viewer to kind of hear what you just have done, you
Yeah.
know, and then apply it to what you're doing and to myself as well. And,
Yeah.
and move forward.
We had a guy just the other day email me about franchise opportunity. We've been chatting with a company who we are all of our T's and I's dotted, crossed. We are ready to do that.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are in that.
Yeah.
And there's a girl who does a lot of stuff for us. Her name's Steph, and she's volunteered. She came in and started baking scones just because she wanted to learn the process
Oh,
and
wow.
loves what we do.
That's cool.
So she's been a huge help.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're close. It's happening, a little day at a time, but we're
Right.
getting there. So
Well,
I appreciate your time.
Sure, I'm inspired, and after all this talk of food, I'm hungry.
Yeah, we have our wholesale license too. So we have a distributor, and
yeah.
hopefully we'll have scones in
cool.
certain stores.
Oh, fun,
but
fun.
it's
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
there, a little
Yeah,
at
yeah,
a
yeah.
time.
And you do a Mondays at Gordon College, or that?
So we do a ton of their catering for some of their events. And lately they've been on Mondays, but in the summer
Yeah.
I think they've
Different
been
days.
some on the weekends.
Yeah, yeah. Cool.
So yeah, it changes with them, but
Yeah.
they're dynamite.
Yeah. Yeah.
To work with.
And they,
so.
probably kids need work too during college as well, so that
We have a
probably-
ton
yeah.
of Gordon
Yeah.
students who
Cool.
work for us, and we try to accommodate in a week. And matter of fact, the gentleman who is covering for me,
Yeah.
he just left class.
Okay.
He was in Gordon. He plays on the soccer
Oh.
team. He's dynamite. He's
Okay.
like, I can help you out. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, we have
Cool.
good team
Awesome.
there. So
Well, thanks a million, Manny.
thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys for having me.
All right. Cheers. The sharing wheel.